What's up, guys? Today I'm going to talk about what my specific requirements are for brown belt. So perhaps this can be informative for you, or you can just completely discard them. It might be very different to what you plan on doing or what your instructor's requirements are for you. Regardless, these are the things that I require should I eventually promote someone to brown belt. So number one is good leadership ability in the gym. So when you're a brown belt, even if you're not in a teaching position, you are an upper rank and you are someone who has a big impact on the culture because of your skill and the time that you spent in the community in your own school. So, given that, I would expect you to make positive contributions to the culture, and I expect you to help out people of lower skill level than you and generally help with maintaining a good positive environment. So I don't think this is a very high bar, especially if you've been training for several years. At this point, you probably have many friendships within the gym already, and so you should already be doing this even just by being a good friend and being a good training partner, setting a good example, and helping out people that need help with techniques that haven't been training as long as you. So as long as you do those things, I think you satisfy this requirement. Number two, you have to have strong offense from basically every offensive position and exceptional offense from 2 to 3 positions. So by strong offense, I mean, should you get into any of the basic dominant positions, you should be able to submit purple belt and below, okay, from those positions. Perhaps with a purple belt, you might struggle if that's a purple belt who is exceptional in that particular position, but with most people, you should be able to submit them from these positions. Exceptionally strong offense in 2 to 3 positions means these are the 2 or 3 positions that you consistently funnel people to and you build your game around so that once they get there, you can crush them, okay? So, should you funnel people into these positions, whether they be other brown belts or black belts, you should get consistent submissions on them. These should be your strongest offensive positions. You should have 2 to 3 of them, and you should have systems that funnel people into those positions as well. Number 3, you should have strong neutral positions, all 3 neutral positions. So I'm excluding 50-50 and other positions like that. I'm saying the basic neutral positions: wrestling, passing, and guard, okay? You should be strong in all of those positions. You shouldn't have a hole, okay? If you have a hole in your wrestling and you get taken down frequently, you're not a brown belt in my mind. If you get your guard passed frequently and you don't have a strong guard, whether it be a guard that's centered around submitting people or a guard that's centered around sweeping people, doesn't matter. You have to have one of those. If you don't have that, you're not a brown belt. And if you have a weak passing game, you're also not a brown belt. You need to be good in all of the neutral positions because you're not always going to choose where you end up. When you're bad at wrestling, you're always going to be playing guard unless the other person is bad at wrestling, and you don't want to rely on the other person that you're fighting being bad at wrestling, okay? You want to have good ability to take the fight to the ground. If you can't do that, your jiu-jitsu is useless, and no matter how strong you are in the other offensive positions, you can't funnel people to them because you can't take them down. So it doesn't matter. You have to have good wrestling. Once you take someone to the ground, you have to have good passing skills. You have to be able to pass or guard. If you can't, you're giving them a lot of offensive ability from the bottom position. Okay, if you can't pass or guard, they can sweep you, they can submit you, they can upkick you, they can standing base and get back up. So you have to be able to hold people down and you have to be able to pass or guard. Likewise, sometimes things aren't going to go your way. You might get surprised, you might get taken down. You have to have good guard, okay? If your guard gets passed like butter, you're not a brown belt, no matter how good your other skill sets are in the neutral positions, because as long as someone gets you on your back, then you have nothing to do. You have nothing that you can do in order to defend their pass and get to dominant position and then probably eventually submit you. So you have to be good at the guard. You don't necessarily have to submit from the guard. You can sweep from the guard. You also don't necessarily have to be a good sweeper from the guard. You could just use it to stand back up or go for submissions. But you have to have a good guard game. So you have to be strong in all 3 of the neutral positions. Number 4. So this one is outside of jiu-jitsu, but I consider it very important. You have to have basic competence in firearms. So for my purple belts, I require that they have basic competence in all of the basic strikes. I think this is a very low requirement. I think this is something that only really takes a few weeks to get good hard strikes and be able to throw them well. Now, I'm not saying you can chain them together at a high level, okay? I'm just saying that you can throw a reasonably strong jab cross, you can throw a hook, you can throw an uppercut, you can do a roundhouse kick, you can do a push kick, okay? You should be able to do those basic moves. Now, When it comes to brown belt, you have to have a basic competence in firearms. Why? Because it's the other part of the triad, okay? I don't want to produce people that think jiu-jitsu is the answer to every self-defense problem. It's not, guys, okay? It is not. Just like striking is not the answer to every problem, and just like a firearm is also not the answer to every problem, okay? You have to have balance. And even though we're specifically focused on building jiu-jitsu skill, I want to inculcate that mentality in my students that they need to be balanced in the other aspects of self-defense. So this is very simple to do. You can go take a concealed carry course. You can go take a gun safety course. You can go to the range and train just once or twice. Basic competence with drawing and putting rounds on target, basic understanding of gun safety. Those are my requirements, okay? I don't think this is a very high bar. You can do this, with just a few training sessions at the range. You're still a complete novice at this point, but you'll hopefully have the basics down at this point, and you'll be comfortable in the presence of a firearm, and I think that's very important. The last one is the ability to run your own program. Not own your own school. That takes many business skills that are outside the realm of what I'm talking about. I'm saying you can produce and run your own program for beginners and advanced practitioners and get them all to a more advanced level, okay? So if you're training a white belt, you should be able to get that white belt to blue belt. You should be able to get a blue belt to purple belt. You should get a purple belt to brown belt, okay? Now, obviously, if you're a brown belt, you're not going to necessarily be able to get somebody to the black belt skill level, but as you do this and as you continue to improve in your teaching and your own jiu-jitsu, you will be able to do that eventually, okay? My instructor was a brown belt when he opened his school and when I started training with him. So he eventually got me to black belt, or at least he will. I'm getting mine in December, but he has gotten me to that point, and he's just continued to improve in his jiu-jitsu and in the way that he teaches as he's been going along. So you guys can do the same thing at brown belt. And I strongly suggest that you at least try to help your instructor teach a class every once in a while, okay? Because it gives you good skills in explaining and articulating exactly what you're doing to make your jiu-jitsu effective, and that's going to help you improve as well, not just in your teaching ability, but in your practical rolling, because you'll have to think about what you're doing, and if you're thinking about what you're doing in a good way, then you're creating better pathways all the time in terms of what you're doing defensively and offensively. So those are my 5 requirements, my main requirements for brown belt. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you share it. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell. All this stuff helps us spread the word, guys. Also, make sure you guys check out the channel on Rumble. It's an up-and-coming platform. It is censorship resistant, which I'm a big fan of. So hope you guys check us out on there. Thanks a lot. I'll see you next time.